Okay guys, so today we're talking about quadratics, and basically we're going to be looking at the standard form for a quadratic equation. And guys, all a quadratic is this anything that has x squared in it. And all quadratics are going to have a U shape, whether it's a upside down U or just a normal U. And so the standard form of a quadratic equation is y, or it could be f of x in the very front. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are numbers, all right, or integers. So they are whole numbers. Could be positive, could be negative. Okay, it could be fractions as well, so they don't have to be whole numbers. When graphed, the quadratic equation creates a U-shaped curve called a parabola. P-A-R-A-B-O-L-A. Okay, so it forms a parabola. So it says that we're going to use our graphing calculator, and we're going to look at desmos.com in order to sketch the following functions. Okay, so one is x squared plus 2x minus 5. And what I noticed when I graph this in Desmos is that this parabola hits the y-axis at -5, all right, and it has a general U shape like this. And so my parabola on the graphing calculator looks something like that. So it's facing upwards, all right, and my y-intercept is at -5. Okay, and then for my other parabola, when I graph this other parabola, I notice that it has a y-intercept at +7. And what happens is this one happens to be a downward U shape here. All right, and so this y-intercept, we can see the y-intercept is very closely related to the end of that function. All right, the +7 again is related to this in our graph. All right, and then also notice a couple of other things. So if our a value, or the number in front of the x squared, okay, is positive, all right, so in the first example, a is positive, the parabola opens up, all right, so our parabola opens in that direction. It's kind of like a smiley face. And then if a is negative, like we have in our second example, then the parabola opens down, like a frown. All right, now the axis of symmetry. So if you notice in both of these, they have an axis of symmetry. So they're the exact same on either side of that parabola. All right, and so the formula for the axis of symmetry is going to be x equals, it's -b over 2 times a. All right, if we're using our standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. It says also when the vertex is the lowest point, it is called a minimum. When it is the highest point, it's called a maximum. Okay, so here up top, vertex, that's the lowest point, that is a minimum. All right, and then this one over here, this would have a maximum, whereas that is our vertex. Okay, so we're supposed to do some examples, and we're supposed to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex, and then sketch the parabola. All right, and so we're going to do this example, x squared plus 8x plus 15. So if I figure out what my a and my b and my c are right off the bat, that's going to help me out when I'm going to solve these problems. So my a is an understood 1 in front of that x squared. My b is an 8, and my c is a 15. So if I'm finding the axis of symmetry, I know that x is equal to -b over 2a. All right, and so let's see what we have. We have b happens to be 8 all over 2 times a, 2 times 1. So -8 over 2, all right, and that gives me that x is equal to -4, okay? And so my axis of symmetry is x equals -4. All right, now my vertex, in order to find the vertex, so the vertex is always located on the axis of symmetry. And so for that, all we have to do is take this, whatever x is, and plug it into our equation. So if I have x squared plus 8x plus 15, we're going to plug negative 4 in for our x. So y equals, you got negative 4 squared plus 8 times negative 4 plus 15. All right, and we're going to type that in our calculator and see what we get. Okay, and when we type all that in the calculator, we get that y is equal to negative 1. And so the coordinates of our vertex is going to be negative 4 because that's the x value, and then y is going to be at negative 1. Okay, so lastly, we got to do our sketch. Okay, and so this is just a rough sketch, doesn't have to be perfect. And I got a few things that I know about my problem. All right, I know that the y-intercept is at 15. So I know that up here at 15, I'm going to have my y-intercept. So I'm going to have a dot there. I also know that the axis of symmetry is at negative 4. So I'm going to have this line right here is my axis of symmetry. All right, and I also know that the vertex is at negative 4, negative 1. So right here at negative 1 and negative 4, all right, we have our vertex. And so we see that this parabola has this upwards U shape because A is positive. All right, and we can go from there. Okay, let's look at some more examples. All right, let's look at number 2. So here A is negative 1. So I know right off the bat that my parabola should be going down. B is 10, and C is negative 23. Okay, and so let's try to go find these things. So the axis of symmetry is found. All right, x is equal to negative b over 2 times a. All right, well, our b is 10. So we have negative 10 all over 2 times negative 1. So that's negative 10 over negative 2, which gives us x equals 5. And so my axis of symmetry is at the line x equals 5. Okay, so now on to my vertex. So we're going to plug x equals 5 in for the problem. So we have negative 5 squared plus 10 times 5 minus 23. And so we're going to type all that in our calculator and see what we're able to come up with. Okay, now notice that y is equal to 2. So here my vertex is at the point 5, 2. Okay, so moving on to our sketch. Okay, in our sketch, we know that the y-intercept is at negative 23. So way down here at negative 23, I have my y-intercept. Okay, I also have x equals 5 is my axis of symmetry. So somewhere over here, that's going to be 5 at 5, 2, so up 2 units. That is my vertex. All right, and we said this one's going down. So our rough sketch is something like that involves our vertex, axis of symmetry, and the sketch of the parabola. Okay, so let's move on to say number 3. Let's see how we can do here. So A is equal to 3, B is equal to negative 12, C is equal to 5. All right, and so let's find our axis of symmetry. So x is equal to negative b over 2a. Well, b already happens to be negative. So when I make this a negative b, all right, that's actually going to turn into a positive 12. All right, over 2 times a, 2 times 3. All right, 2 times 3 is 6. So I notice that the axis of symmetry, 12 divided by 6, is at x equals 2. Okay, so let's plug in for our vertex. All right, so let's plug everything in to our function 3x squared. All right, so 3 times x squared minus 12 times x. All right, plus 5. Okay, we're going to plug that all in the calculator. And we get that y is equal to negative 7. And so our coordinates are going to be 2, negative 7. Okay, and so our sketch, all right, again, I'm going to make some room here for our sketch. We know right off the bat that our y-intercept is at positive 5. Okay, so here's positive 5. All right, my axis of symmetry is at 2 over here. Okay, and then down here at negative 7, that is my vertex of the parabola. And so this one's going to have a very steep, all right, very tight U right there. Okay, and we can solve our problems from there. So what I want you guys to do is I want y'all to try any 4 problems from the remaining ones on numbers 4 through 9. All right, so it could be 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, or any combination of those. So pick 2 that you don't want to do and try the other 4. What I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write the A, B, and C values, though, for each of them so that will help you out. So on number 4, the A value is 4, the B value is 8, and the C value is negative 1. All right, on number 5, the A value is negative 1, B value is negative 4, and the C value is negative 2. 6, A value is negative 3, B value is negative 24, and the C value is negative 42. Okay, on 7, 7 is a little bit tricky. It doesn't have anything on the end. All right, so it's x squared plus 4x plus 0, really. So the A value is negative 1, B value is 4, and your C value is 0. Okay, number 8, again, kind of the same idea as what we talked about in 7, but your standard form follows this. All right, and so you're missing this middle part. So here A is 1, B is actually 0, and C is negative 3. Okay, and then on 9, last one, A is negative 2. Again, B is 0, and C is positive 8. Okay, so go and try any of those 4 out that you want to try, 4 out of those 6, and we'll talk about this for the rest of class.